You pass them by every day, and I bet you don't even notice. They're in our canyons and our hillsides. They cover our mesas, our mountains. They're even in our estuaries. They're California native plants. I'm in Elfin Forest, which is partway between Escondido and San Marcos. The view here is incredible, but what's even more impressive is the bloom on the woolly leaf ceanothus. The hillsides are covered in brilliant blue. It's peak bloom season. When the sun gets a little bit higher in the sky, the bees are going to come out and it's going to be buzzing. It's one of the wonders of native plants. Native plants, together with the native birds and bugs and fish and mammals they support, are what make California, California. Did you know there are native poppies, native pines, even native grasses? California's diverse microclimates, topographies, and soils are home to an astounding diversity of plants, from the desert to the coast, and many make great garden plants. Natives are the underappreciated gems of the landscape. They deserve much more attention, and that's what they'll get today on A Growing Passion. They say, from tiny acorns, mighty oaks will grow. That's more than just an adage. Oaks are a key species of many California native habitats, and some are under threat. Here in the San Diego National Wildlife Refuge in Rancho San Diego, a once robust oak community is being restored with the help of the Fish and Wildlife Service and volunteers recruited by Earth Discovery Institute.
Somebody's got acorns for each group,
There's
right?
550 national wildlife refuges in the country. There's one in every single state. And in San Diego, we're lucky because in the Rancho San Diego Jamul area is the San Diego National Wildlife Refuge.
Wildlife managers invite volunteers to help restore native oak woodland systems that have disappeared over time.
But with the arrival of Europeans and grazing and fields being cleared for agriculture, probably oaks were lost at that time. And then more recently, we've had wildfires that have burned trees and frequent wildfire that's really hampered their ability to survive. We're also fighting a pest called the gold-spotted oak borer that's killing trees in the area. So we want to get ahead of that pest.
We're going to plant some acorns right here, some live oak acorns, because we've got a little swell, little draw coming down here where the water will come down, so hopefully water will pass through here.
Volunteers fan out across the riparian upland, searching for the best planting spots. First, they scrape away any invasive grasses. Then they set out a layer of oak duff. Finally, they add the acorns.
Oak tree duff.
Acorns have their best chance of survival when they're planted in duff, which is an accumulation of partly decomposed oak leaves. The best thing is to use oak duff because it's already got the mycorrhizae that that the acorns are compatible with, right? So you want to use oak duff for acorns to get the best results. Could you use anything? Yes, but you wouldn't get that extra oomph from the mycorrhizae. You can use this same technique to plant acorns in your home landscape. Because oaks take decades to mature, helping hands and thoughtful conservation help ensure this native habitat recovers and lives on for future generations.
And then you can come back, and hopefully next year there'll be a little oak tree sprouting up in there.
I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm now mother to an oak.
You are.
Putting oaks back into the ecosystem helps support more than 300 species of animals and insects that live here.
But we're hoping that over time we will have this oak riparian canopy moving from the edge of the willow riparian area out further, and it provides shade, it provides food, it provides places for animals to nest, and it'll just increase the biological diversity, support the biological diversity that's here.
It's the rainy season. It's the best time to plant oaks and other California natives. We put them in the ground. Mother Nature keeps them watered. One of the great gifts of our rainy season is the spring bloom that follows. It's when our native landscape explodes with amazing diversity. 100 years ago, this display captured the imagination of a natural history lover and artist from Ohio named Albert Valentin. Valentin made his name as head artist at the famous Rookwood Pottery. His graceful designs often included plants illustrated in classic botanical fashion. Around 1900, Valentin gave up pottery decoration to paint flowers. After hearing about the beautiful wildflowers of California, he and wife Anna traveled west to San Diego in 1903. Valentin's first paintings of local wildflowers caught the attention of Ellen Browning Scripps, a local philanthropist with a passion for San Diego's native plants and native animals.
She commissioned him to do what she called the wildflowers of California, the whole state.
The whole state.
Yeah, and that was a completely unreasonable expectation for any one artist to be able to do. But neither Miss Scripps nor Mr. Valentin were botanists, so they really didn't know about the great biodiversity that we have here in California.
If he wasn't a botanist himself, how was he able to go out in the wild and identify all of these plants?
It's pretty amazing. I think this was a 10-year project on his part. Basically, he just got really good at looking at the details of the plants and figuring out, I have, represented one of this particular species, but not this other one that's very similar.
So did he work with experts at all?
He did. He pressed the plants that he collected and illustrated, and then he shipped them to a botanist at the University of California. And they were identified, and those are the names that you see on these labels that he put on his paintings.
How many flowers did he illustrate altogether?
About 1,500.
And that was a third of all of the species?
At the time that was known in California.
To me, this is a celebration of our native plants.
Absolutely. And people are always amazed when they see this collection. They say, oh, these can't be native plants. I would love to have these in my garden, They're just as beautiful as anything you would buy at a nursery, a horticultural nursery, if not more so.
I couldn't agree more. Valentin's colorful paintings are an exquisite reminder of the beauty of native plants. Next, we'll visit a nursery that grows only natives. Don't go away. It's winter here at Recon Native Plant Nursery, just a little north of the Mexican border. While most conventional garden plants are looking kind of sad right now, they've lost their leaves, these natives, they're just kicking in. Recon Native Plant Nursery in the South Bay grows hundreds of varieties of plants, many native to right here in San Diego County. Recon supplies plants for landscapes, habitat restoration, and revegetation projects. These plants are native, and that's important because revegetation projects require plants from the same gene pool as those native to the site. So, Recon's seed collector travels across the county to chaparral, to vernal pools, to riparian habitats, wherever he needs to go to get the right seeds from the right plants. He brings seeds back to the nursery to be cleaned and then stored until they're needed. Ryan West, general manager at Recon, showed us the seed stock.
This is some native seed that we've collected. This is Toyon and Limonium. These seeds were collected about a week ago, and they're out here drying before we process them.
And in the bags?
This is all native seed. This is seed that has been collected for different projects, and right now it's waiting, it's been cleaned, and it's waiting to be mixed and applied onto a project site. So we bring the seed in, we label it, and then that label goes into our inventory, and we can use it for our plant production. And the information that the seed collector brings us follows that plant all the way through until it leaves the nursery.
Sprouting these seeds is not always easy, but Recon has the process down. The tiniest of seeds and seedlings are coddled a bit, but once they start to mature, it's all tough love. Plants are gradually moved through the shade houses to the outside, so they grow under the same conditions they'll face once they're in habitat or in the landscape. Soils are lean, not what you'd see in most nurseries. Ryan, this looks more like my garden soil than it does like regular potting mix. What is this?
This is something that's special about Recon Native Plants. We grow our plants in a mixture that contains more than 50% native soil, and that is designed to produce a plant that's adapted to the project site where it's going to be outplanted. In the nursery, it produces a plant that's a little bit more compact, hardier, and better adapted to withstand stresses of a project site. But for certain contracts, they'll require or ask that we grow the plants for their project in native soil to the site where the plants will be planted back.
So you guys actually go out and you collect soil in addition to seeds and cuttings at the site?
Correct, absolutely.
Plants are grown in full sun, on little water, and with little to no fertilizer. This approach produces a sturdy, drought-resistant plant that can stand up to the rigors of the environment.
And the purpose for that is so that you can get a plant that is adapted to the animal, insect, and plant community and the climatic regime and soil type of the project site. It gives the restoration project a better chance for success.
How many different kinds of plants you grow?
We grow about 400 different species of plants. San Diego County itself has over 2,000 native species. Plants are native to rivers, lakes, mountains, desert, the ocean. And so we grow for many of those different plant communities. We also use what's called controlled drought here at the nursery. So we don't water our plants as much as they would probably like. The idea with that is producing a plant that's going to be compact, hardy, and it's going to be able to withstand some of the stresses on a large restoration project.
In our home gardens, we can mix the California natives in with other low-water Mediterranean climate plants, or we can plant habitat gardens. It's all good. Just keep in mind that just because a plant is native to California doesn't mean it's necessarily native to your garden. Do your homework. Find out what grew in your area before the houses were built. You don't have to limit yourself to those plants, but they'll give you a pretty good idea of which ones you'll have the most success with. Try to recreate the growing conditions those plants prefer. When homes are built, the sites are typically scraped and compacted. That's a tough environment for any plant to adapt to, so you may have to do some restoration work of your own. The rainy season is the best time to plant natives. The cool air helps them cope with transplant shock. Mother Nature keeps them watered while they establish the deep, strong roots to survive our hot, dry summers with little or even no irrigation. And yes, many natives can survive all summer without being watered. That shouldn't surprise you. After all, these plants did grow up here.
There's San Diego fairy shrimp, which is a fairy...
I'm looking at a wonder of nature.
Those are little popcorn flowers, they're called.
Just a few months ago, this little pool was a dusty depression, barely distinguishable from its surroundings. Now it's teeming with life. The wildflowers are blooming, the tadpoles are swimming around, insects are buzzing, and the tiny white San Diego fairy shrimp dart through the water. This is a vernal pool. It's one of the rarest habitats in San Diego County.
A vernal pool is a seasonal pond that fills with rainwater in the wintertime. There's endangered plants and endangered animals that use that habitat. Some grow during the aquatic phase when the pools are filled by the rainwater, and then other species germinate and then grow after the pools have started to dry.
Each vernal pool has its own special combination of plants, and even those change from year to year and as conditions vary. So each spring holds new surprises. Thousands of vernal pools just like these once dotted San Diego's mesas and valleys. Today, just a tiny fraction of those vernal pools remain.
This particular area that we're standing in is a restored vernal pool habitat area. So the restoration project came back and reconstructed the Mima Mound and vernal pool topography, and then we planted thousands of native plants to restore the habitat.
They're little Noah's Arks of nature, surrounded by our busy world. Vernal pools quietly offer up their short-lived and ever-changing beauty. "20 years ago, it was rare to find a homeowner who wanted a garden of native plants. But that's exactly what Pete and Vivian Caswell had in mind when they decided it was time to upgrade the garden of their Tierra Santa home. Vivian, what inspired you to want a garden of natives?
Walking up in Mission Trails, and I just saw these beautiful wildflowers. And also, there was a 7-year drought happening. Here we are in San Diego, You know, sprinklers are going, the water's running off. And I said, you know, that's what happens in my yard, so why would I want to put a lawn in? So I started thinking about native flowers and native plants.
The Caswells had the desire, but they had no idea how to go about it. So they turned to landscape designer Dave Buchanan, who grew up in San Diego. Buchanan spent his childhood exploring the region's canyons and mesas. The plants and animals he observed made an indelible impression on him and led to a career specializing in native gardens.
I spent a lot of time exploring around Miramar area, and even out here there were no homes, and it was filled with toyon, scrub oak, mission manzanita, lemonade berry, a lot of the different species that I tried to reinstall in this landscape.
What's the best time of year for planting natives?
Generally, when the rains start in the fall is a great time to plant natives.
How does the garden look in summer?
Summertime generally will be a transition from the flush of spring growth and flowering as a result of winter rains to less flowering, even though there are certain species that will continue to flower from into the late summer into the fall.
What's the secret to maintaining a native garden?
The main advice I give to Pete and Viv about gardening and maintaining this yard is don't water too much in the off season. Trim whatever is needed. The start of the summer phase, don't overreact and start watering extra at that time. The plants are starting to go to their rest.
This is really cool. When Dave started this garden in 1997, Viv started a diary. Here on the first page it says Backyard Thoughts, and she started listing plants she was interested in. Tree mallow, the Mimulus longiflora, strawberry tree. As you go through the pages, there's labels from different plants that she's planted, there's receipts from plants she's bought, there's articles that she's cut out of the paper, and there's different comments. And my favorite part, when you get back here, there's still room for more. Native landscapes are so well suited to our natural climate that in summer, while neighbors run their sprinklers, the Caswells leave their mature landscape pretty much on its own.
We don't have an irrigation system, really. Everything just seems to just do fine. In fact, it thrives. Usually in the fall, that's when I start watering again because it's gone through the hot summer.
The low water needs of native plants gave the Caswells a great solution to a tough situation that many San Diego homeowners face: how to landscape a slope. Landscaping a slope like this can be a challenge. For most people, their first impulse is to plant a single type of plant, usually a low-growing ground cover. But why? A slope is just a garden at an angle. It's much more interesting to use plants of different heights and colors and textures and sizes. Native trees and woody shrubs are ideal for this job. Their deep roots dig into the earth to hold the hillside in place. Dave Buchanan added pathways for access so the Caswells can enjoy their entire garden.
I do go up into the garden a lot every day because I have to see what's blooming. And I really enjoy it. And many times I just look to see what kind of birds are in the yard. I love when the sun comes in and hits the yard and hits all the plants and you get the shading and the lighting. I just love to watch that.
The decisions we make in our home landscapes have effects that reach far beyond our backyards. Next up, we'll visit an estuary where foreign invaders are being removed and replaced with plants native to that habitat. Stay tuned. The San Elijo Lagoon is the vast estuary that separates Solana Beach from Encinitas. It's where Escondido Creek empties its 77 square mile watershed into the ocean. Birds and insects, fish and mammals are all drawn here for food and nesting. So maintaining the native plants of this ecosystem is critical. Among the native willows and pickleweed are other plants, invasive plants like Mexican fan palm and pampas and giant reed, and even ice plant. Yes, some common plants are invasive. They do so well in our gardens that they escape into the native habitat, and when they get there, they crowd out the native plants. Once the native plants go, so do the native animals and insects. Now that's a problem, and it's been a problem for a long time. Over the last 100 years or so, we've filled in estuaries. We've built on them and we've used them as dumping grounds. Less than 10% remain. The San Elijo Lagoon Conservancy works with environmental and government agencies to restore and protect San Elijo Lagoon and other wetlands in San Diego County. Much of their effort goes into removing invasive plants. Today, a group of volunteers has hiked into the wetland to remove invasive plants and replant with natives. David Varner, the Conservancy's science director, invited me to help out.
We are removing Acacia longifolia. It's an invasive plant from Australia, and it's been growing here for 20 to 30 years, and it's a prolific seeder, so it was probably planted in a home landscape, and a seed maybe flowed downstream, or a bird dropped it off, or something like that, and it took seed here next to the Escondido Creek.
So why are there so many invasive plants in the estuary? Is that typical?
A lot of water available for invasive plants to take advantage of. It's also, there's a very nutrient-rich area, so plants and animals, they can easily exploit that nutrient.
How much money does a restoration like this cost?
We spend between $10,000 and $30,000 a year removing invasive plants from the San Elijo Lagoon Ecological Reserve. You get that letter right?
Will you ever be able to get rid of all the invasives?
It's probably not realistic to think that we'll get rid of them. There will always be a new one. The more we work with the community around us, the more we can reduce the threat of invasive plants.
The County of San Diego and several cities have policies that prohibit invasives from being planted in public and commercial landscapes. It's part of a statewide effort to control the spread of invasives and to educate the public to use native plants that are just as beautiful, but not invasive. So how can you help protect this native habitat? Do your homework. There are lists of invasive plants for this area online. Print them out and take them with you to the nursery so you know what not to buy. And if you find you have invasive plants in your garden, replace them. There are so many plants to choose from in the nursery that it's not hard to find an alternative. Volunteer for a habitat restoration effort around San Diego. You'll learn how to remove invasives and plant with natives. And while you're there, take a moment to appreciate the beauty and the importance of the native ecosystem. It's a source of life for us all. Thinking about planting natives? They're climate appropriate and they're really attractive plants. Now that we've seen them in native habitat, let's see how they work in gardens. Planting time is critical. The cool months of fall, winter, and near the coast the very early spring are best for planting natives. The cool air spares plants from transplant shock. Fall and winter rains take care of water needs. So by spring, plants are well along their way to being established. Just because a plant is native to California doesn't mean it's native to your garden. Find out what habitat is native to your area and choose plants that belong there. Those will be the most successful and least demanding plants in your garden. Create a design for your native garden just like you would for any other garden. Plan for irrigation, then grab your shovel. It's time to plant. Dig a hole just slightly wider than the nursery container. Fill the hole with water and let it all drain out. Now, planting natives is a little different. We want the plant to sit about an inch higher in the ground than it did in the nursery container. There's no need to amend the soil. Natives, in fact, nearly all Mediterranean climate plants do best in unamended soils. Build a little moat to ensure that water drains away from the plant. Fill the basin with coarse mulch past the width of the branches. Saturate the planting hole. That settles in the soil and fills in any air pockets. Irrigating young natives can be tricky. The roots of young natives need to be kept damp but not wet for at least the first year or two. Inline drip irrigation is the most efficient way to irrigate these plants. It puts water right on the soil above the roots, which is where the plants need the water. After the first year or two, you can probably turn the water off if you chose natives from areas where the rainfall is similar to yours. Now, that doesn't mean those plants will always look their best. Have you ever noticed how brown our hillsides are in summer? It's typical for natives to grow in the cooler, wetter months, then go dormant in the hot, dry summer. In our gardens, that means they're less showy in the months that we're mostly outside. The solution? Water natives deeply, just once or twice a month in summer. That way, your native garden will be beautiful all year long.